this one off. Louise Valentine, how are we today?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing real good. Thanks for taking time out to join me today. I guess starting things off, why don't you just introduce yourself, let people know who you are and a little bit about what you do.
I describe myself as a fierce military spouse. I've most recently been an award-winning wellness expert. I can say that now, which is kind of fun,
Wow. Okay.
as of a couple days ago.
Okay.
And I've had a crazy wild ride of a journey, working throughout the spectrum of wellness, from direct patient care to research, and now as a leader in healthcare technology company.
Man, that's a lot.
Right there, I know. The military spouse journey is just insane.
Yeah. Man, yeah. So I'm actually interested about the when it comes to being a military spouse. Did you marry knowing that this is going to be like a military lifestyle? Was he already in the military when you guys got married?
So we were good friends in college,
Okay.
and while he was in ROTC training to be in the military, I always hung out with that group of guys. We got along really well.
Yeah.
They were up early working out, so was I. A really down to earth group. So I loved hanging out with them. But I didn't actually date my husband until he was already commissioned. He had been off into the military, done some training, and was actually in the heart of his first deployment
Okay.
when we met back up, and we're both single at the time, and had grown as individuals,
Yeah.
and um, we're had that history of a good friendship, and there was
Mhm.
a lot more there when we met back up.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Um, did you expectation versus reality?
Oof.
I'm sure you had probably heard, at least heard some accounts of people who are military spouses, and but was the expectation going in, once the reality set in, how far apart was it from one another, or was it
Um,
anything like you'd expected?
yeah, so nothing like I'd really truly expected. I mean, we've relocated. It'll be a total of 9 times in 11 years, which is
Like
insane.
states?
Yeah. Well, we've been living in Maryland for the past 3 years, but we've
Okay.
relocated within Maryland, like an hour south. So, and now we're moving up to Philly, Delaware area. So we're just going 2 hours north.
It
So,
continues.
yeah. But we have lived in California and all over the
Okay.
United States. But I think the biggest thing that was very eye opening for me was just the career struggle. I
Mm.
actually started my own business before I finished my undergrad, and I was a sports massage therapist for the NFL.
Oh,
So I had built this career and had contracts with local hospital systems as well as NFL teams
yeah.
and players. And so here I was in this awesome career. And then here I married into the military. So I juggled it for like 2.5 years. I drove back and forth from Ohio to Fort Drum, New York, where my husband was stationed. And when he deployed, I'd come home back to my business, and
Yeah.
I'd come home for things like training camp and important events for my pro athletes. So I kind of honored both, like this duty of being a military wife, and then clients and holding up to those expectations. So
Wow.
it lasted for about 2.5 years, but then, just recognizing we were going to move from Fort Drum, and it was just time to truly become a real military spouse in a way.
Yeah. Wow, where it's kind of like, hey, your stuff is going to get put on hold because you have to bounce around.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I cried the entire 7.5 hours. Like that time when I packed up my car for good, and I knew I actually had gotten hired by MLB and turned it down. So I was going to be like this, 365 days a year pro athlete massage therapist.
Holy
And
shit.
I interviewed, I got the call that I got the job, and I just, you just know, like it's time to move on. And so I did. I cried. I mourned the loss of my career for a couple months there,
That is
because the reality is, the medical license didn't transfer when I went up to New York.
okay. Okay.
So that struggle was pretty real in terms of putting in resumes and realizing these jobs I was, on paper very overqualified for. I was just looking for something in terms of work
Wow.
and didn't get a single call back, or, it was just rejection letter after rejection letter.
Dang.
So yeah, it's been, I say that I'm going to go out of this lifestyle kicking and screaming, because I've had work, at every duty station, and
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people look me in the eye and say, why? Like, why are you doing this? Like, just give up. And I thrive on this ability to impact. It's what I feel is purpose in life,
Mm,
is to outside of my home as well. So impact, raise great kids, impact my husband's well-being, my family. But I've always, and maybe it's just working in the healthcare field, you feel very called to, I don't know, impact others' lives and help them live a vibrant, healthy life.
yeah. Yeah. Is that why you were ready to move on from the massage therapy? Because it was like that's more of like, okay, you're doing like a physical thing, but like outside of that, like there's extra, that you could be going towards.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to advance my career. So I did finish my degree in exercise physiology. So
Okay.
I'm an exercise physiologist as well. So I've always enjoyed that, and I blended it with the massage for a while.
Mhm.
But that licensure and that each relocation, by the time I would build up clientele to have a sustainable income, it'd be time to move again.
Yeah.
So
You
that
have to
got
like
frustrating.
recertify in each place. That's kind of like, people that
Yeah.
go through the bar, you go to a different place, you have to recertify through the bar. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. I didn't realize you had to do that with the massage specialist
Yeah.
route. Like,
Well, yeah. And also too, I do get my massage license in most states,
mhm.
but I just do it on the side because I love massage therapy, and
Okay.
I want to keep my skills sharp.
Gotcha.
But this, ongoing struggle of rebuilding that clientele at each new duty station was challenging.
Yeah.
So I played around with what next, based on the job market or what I thought I should do. I did a lot of that. I think I should do this because this would be the reasonable solution.
Okay.
And then, reinventing myself along the way and finding what truly brings me joy.
Yeah. 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 That's once you start to peel back the layers of the onion, it can be a contagious thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um, Going into you said you got some sort of award for a
Oh, yeah.
wellness thing. I wanted to make sure to touch on that because I'm curious about what that was for.
So I got my master's in public health
Uh-huh.
a couple years ago, and I have worked across the spectrum of public health, everywhere from policy analyst for a health department, a school wellness coordinator for a county, and I've published research with the Army Public Health Center in a research fellowship. So I've really grown a lot and quickly in that field. But in this past year for 2020, I applied to be the Certified Health Education Specialist Emerging Professional of the Year based on actions that I took in 2020 as a public health practitioner. So I was very excited to win. It's pretty
Wow.
much one of the biggest honors I could have as a public health practitioner. So it's
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's
Right,
pretty
and it took me about 11 years to be able to say that I was a wellness expert. Just to like it just feels weird to me.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
but now I think like, okay, the award, there's my
You're like, I
credentialing
got
body
that validation.
Yeah, like my credentialing body is calling me a
Mhm.
leader, outstanding service. I think I can say wellness expert now.
Yeah, that's one of the things when we were first communicating back and forth, like I saw all the all the alphabet, all of the alphabet in your in your
Yeah.
hand where you have a lot of different certifications. Like it's pretty yeah, tell it's a passion thing, it seems like.
Yeah. And also too, I just really respect scope of practice. So
Mm,
when I was a massage therapist, I didn't want to be providing stretching advice or exercise advice unless I had the credentials.
that makes sense.
And being a female in a man's world of the NFL in the training room, I mean,
Yep.
it's no doubt females really typically aren't allowed in there a lot of times, depending on what NFL team it is. Or
Yeah.
I guess 10 years ago things were a little different, but um, I wanted to have those same credentials
Mm,
as the men who were training the athletes. So to get my certified strength and condition specialist
mhm.
um, credential was important because my um, clinical summary from working with an athlete on their massage wasn't always taken seriously. So if I had the same background,
Mhm.
then I felt a little bit more heard or had the ability to be heard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how was your experience doing that then? Did you run into some issues where you had to be like, no, I know what I'm doing, or like what? Yeah, like I guess overall, what was your experience like working with the NFL?
I really enjoyed working with a lot of the strength and conditioning staff, athletic trainers. They were great mentors. Um, some of the players were challenging.
Mhm.
And, I say sports and medical massage therapy very purposefully because, there's different expectations depending on the athlete.
Yeah.
So it was a journey, but I had,
Oh,
a
man.
do not massage list that I kept. So
Oh shit. Okay, I gotcha.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Gotcha.
so, but
Interesting.
my husband's a strong man too I'm like, I have to go. When we be sitting there for like Christmas dinner, it's like, well, the guys have off, so I need to, not be at family dinner right now and go take care of the team. But he understood. So I appreciated his patience.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's did that uh, with your experience there, um how did that play into the route that you wanted to take after leaving that environment?
I mean, I think I definitely valued myself as a professional and ongoing continuing education
Mhm.
just because the rapid pace of an athlete optimizing their performance. There's always new technology. You have to keep up with the cutting edge of what can give them the cutting edge in
Right.
terms of sports and performance. So I think I've always really enjoyed just diving into the research, experimenting with different technology that comes out,
Mhm.
this idea of biohacking in a way. I know it's a buzzword, but really, how can we optimize our own well-being? I really enjoy that, and it's helped me a lot as I've gotten my own health diagnoses, as I've coached others, even as I do things like write a book. The way that I communicate health information is very different. It's simple, it's realistic, it's got to be so quick and easy,
Mhm.
or at least easy to understand for someone to action it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I know the biohacking has been a bit of a buzzword over these last few years, especially. But do you have any I guess biohacks that either you've done yourself or that you've seen that have been really beneficial, like in particular?
yeah, so I do use red light therapy.
Ah,
Um,
just been seeing about this. Okay, yeah. What is this buzz all about?
so I use the Juve, which is one of from the different ones I've researched. Very, um, it's been around for a while. There's a lot of research to back its use. I believe it's FDA approved.
Okay,
But for I have osteoporosis,
okay.
so some of that root cause is hormone imbalance.
Mm,
So the Juve definitely helps to optimize hormones. It uses both near and far infrared light, so it'll help repair and recovery. And so, as a competitive athlete, I do run
okay.
and strength train. So I do notice that it does almost immediately. You can tell like decreased muscle soreness if you shine it on like a quad after a race.
Wow.
So it's and also my parents. I have my mom. She broke her back,
Okay.
so in that optimizing the rebuilding of her bones and her spine, especially,
Yeah.
she'll use it there. My dad in his post-COVID recovery, we've been kind of playing around with it. So
How does that work? How does the red light interact with, because it's supposed to go directly like on our skin, right? Like is that
mhm.
the absorption that we're getting that's causing the positive benefits?
So with the red light, the actual red rays, those are supposed to be like for actual like surface level skin, decrease of wrinkles, collagen. And then the actual deeper rays are the ones which you can't see.
Mhm.
And they are the ones that help with the muscle repair and recovery. Um, and for myself, I've been using it for about 2 years now. So I have reversed my osteoporosis.
Wow.
I get a DEXA every year. So without medication, I have been reversing my bone health. And
Oh,
there's many things that I'm doing. So I can't just say it's just the red light, but I
right.
do think that it helps and I have quantifiable outcomes.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anecdotal evidence is evidence, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely an N equals one for a lot of things.
So outside of the red light, what's some others?
So I have actually been using the new calm lately. And I don't know if you've heard of this.
The new calm.
Yeah, so it's I've listened to so many different forums in which the inventor or their spokesperson is sharing the outcomes and talking about it and its different benefits. And recently, I'm very much into getting labs drawn and seeing how my hormones are doing with my different health diagnoses that I have. So cortisol, despite all of my best focus on trying to decrease it, it's just been through the roof.
Okay.
And so I did a couple different tests where I took a spit analysis like every single day. And so my doctor sat down with me and she's like, this is just, it's just through the roof. So we
Mhm.
have to do something about this. And so this is a way to, from what I understand, it's like fast tracking the benefits of meditation.
Dang.
So it's you listen to music,
Mhm.
and it's so I've been using music with my massage therapy for years. Different I believe they're called bionic beats, where it's the theta brain waves. They're trying to, it's just that calming parasympathetic state that you're trying to switch into from that heightened state of fight or flight that we're always in.
Yeah.
And then they also have this little disc, and I'm actually wearing one. I can show you. It's so it's supposed to help trigger GABA, which is just optimizing neurotransmitters in your body for that parasympathetic state.
Hmm.
So I've been using it for like 2.5, 3 weeks now, and I must say, um, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's both, and I think it's because there's a lot going on with my family and my dad with his cancer diagnosis and his COVID recovery, almost losing him in the ICU, to summarize his story there for you in a nutshell.
Wow. Yeah.
But I think despite my best attempts to do all the things like meditate, listen to music, mantras, get better sleep, decrease exercise, increase nutrition, hydration. Again, I'm pretty comprehensive in my approach to these type of things. That, just seeing it on paper, what I'm still stressed out. I can't not admit that it's just a stage of life where it's challenge after challenge. And so if this can help, I thought I'd give it the good old try.
Yeah. Well, and I commend you for doing that kind of stuff, because it's like that's all we can do, right? We don't know what necessarily is going to work for us until we try a few different things.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not saying it'll work for everyone because that's totally my thing too. Find
Right.
what works for you. And when it
Right.
does, own it, enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you feel better doing it? Like, okay, great. Do that more.
Yep,
It's nice. Yeah. Man, the yeah, those are a lot of stressors. Those are a lot of life stressors that simply, yeah, just despite trying to doing everything that you can, getting the good sleep, the hydration, the red light, like all that stuff, it's still going to be part of life.
yeah,
It can be very stressful at times. Um, it seems like you really use your life experience for, you know, your passion, turning the I know that we had talked a little bit about this before we did the podcast, but turning like your pain into passion.
hmm
Um, has that been like a therapeutic thing for you, or a thing that has given you purpose?
absolutely. I mean, I think it's because of the struggles that I stand here as a, quote, resilient person who's, like defined by her grit. And
Yeah,
I used to say, like, or I do say, I want my gravestone to read, you can't say she didn't try,
right.
because I just keep going back. And if something doesn't work, I'm reinventing or re-engineering. It's going to be okay. Like obstacles, I think the one of the biggest takeaways of life is just simply expecting them to be a part of the journey.
Mm,
And when they show up, you're not like, oh my gosh, my life is devastated, an obstacle, I didn't ever saw this coming. It's no, it's something, it's part of life. Change is life. An obstacle is change, and life is beautiful. It's perfectly imperfect. There's always a lesson to be learned. And I know that sounds kind of like a lot of words, but really, it's truly been my experience that I come out so much stronger
mhm.
as a result of every single obstacle.
Yeah, yeah. It's that it's that life experience that you know I, we've gone so much towards comfort, and I understand, like from a societal standpoint, you have world wars and Great Depression and other wars and
Yeah.
civil rights movement and all these things, and it's just like, okay, we just want comfort. Like, can we just have comfort? But it's not always just the comfort that's gonna be the thing that helps you in life, because you're I know like you just said, you're saying a lot of words, but they are truth.
Yeah.
It's always going to change. It's impermanence. There is going to be change in life. There's nothing that we can do about it, and expecting those obstacles to be there, like you said, yeah, it doesn't mean it takes away from life, like what you're going through right now. It just
hmm
means that you're able to handle it better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's being confident in the face of uncertainty is one
Yeah,
of the biggest takeaways for optimizing performance, whether it's life performance or athletic performance.
yeah,
Just confidently moving through the uncertainty.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Um,
also to your point of taking that time to really feeling those emotions, like I think in my day-to-day, I'm so hyper focused on the impact, the impact, the impact. And then when I stop and I slow down, I realize how much pain there is there, or how much worry there is for my father's health, or, just going through the experience of nearly losing him. There were moments when I thought we did, being remote, during his COVID experience. And, um, so I started to feel what that feels like. And
Yeah.
it's just, I just, I like want to honor it too, because I feel like the more I mask that, then that's just not a recipe for success. So
Right.
if I cry in front of my kids, I tell them why. If I
Oh,
have
awesome.
an outburst while I'm running with friends and I just get choked up, I just give myself the space to have the ugly cry.
Yeah.
And I know it's weird. Like people are like, we don't want to see those emotions. And it's just like, this is life. I'm not a sunny, bright person all the time.
Yeah.
Most days I am, because there's so much to celebrate,
Yeah.
especially after you almost lose someone you love. But
Right.
um, the ugly is there too. And I kind of celebrate the ugly, right?
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on toxic positivity?
Positivity.
Toxic positivity.
Oh, so yeah, I think that it's very easy to like post a bunch of quotes about finding the best of situations and life is full of joy. But what are you doing with that quote? Are you living it, or is it just how you're just putting on this facade? Because that's annoying to me too with health, right?
Mhm.
Like you sit there and you post a bunch of stuff about your health, and then you're not actually like practicing what you preach too, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do. I think like this sharing of the struggle, like 2020, I've opened up publicly about a lot of pain and um, just what the journey has really looked like.
Mhm.
And so I like want to share that story a lot more, because I realize how much it resonates with people,
Yeah.
and I just learn from other people's experience too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the best way we learn. I think that's the best way we can learn. It's just being real. And I think the reaction to actual human emotion um, just shows us that we got some work to do. It's
Yeah.
is being people that are uncomfortable with other people's emotion, and
Hmm.
it's just like, could you not do that now? Could you do that later when you're not around me? Because I feel uncomfortable. It's just like that whole situation is just, I don't think anybody's necessarily to blame one way or another, but it's just a situation that hoping we're going in a different direction, because it's like if more people could just be like, okay, it's okay if you express that emotion. It's not saying that you have to take it on. It's
Yes.
just saying that you can acknowledge that other people are going through some shit, and they're breaking down sometimes, and they might need to let it out, and it's not your fault or anything, but just allow them to be a human.
Yeah. I wrote a blog post, "The Crazy in Me Honors the Crazy in You."
Mm,
And it was that same concept of 2020 has been crazy.
yeah.
And as I was finally able to come home and see my family
Mm,
during COVID, after we had gone through this experience of almost losing my father, I just had this like, I got a flat tire on the way.
mm,
And I sat there, this like 5 hour tire change experience. I was just reflecting on how I wanted to show up when I came home. And like so many things, like judging my parents and wanting them to have a cleaner home, or you know just like I just wrote like the type A clean freak in me honors the type Z dog lover in you. I mean, just like these little things, like my sisters, the crazy in me just honors the crazy in you. And even my kids during this pandemic, like the meltdown and because of virtual school, like I get it, buddy.
yeah.
Virtual mommy at work, she's going nuts too.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah, if anything has come out of 2020, it is a collective like, oh, we're in this together.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, are you working on anything right now? Like, it sounds like you're staying busy quite often. So I'm curious to see what you're doing, what you got going on at the moment.
Yeah, so I did write my book and publish in 2020. I wrote it years ago and then finally published in October. And so I've really, as an expansion of that, continued just to talk on podcasts, and I've done a couple, speeches for some universities and fun things like that. Just teaching the framework of my book because it's a simple 5-step process
Hmm.
to take on challenges. So
Okay.
I can attach it to the story of my career or as an athlete. So it can go a bunch of different directions. So it's opened up this beautiful forum for conversation with people like yourself. So I definitely look forward to sharing that perspective, as well as I do have teamvalentineproject.com, which is my blog. So taking all of these tips, tricks, and tools that I've learned throughout my career
Hmm.
and actually documenting it's like they're resources, simple and realistic ways to live um, a vibrant, healthy life. And so I continue to post blog articles there. But one thing that I noticed, especially this year, is most of my content on teamvalentineproject.com or the Facebook or Instagram, and even my book, it's all just living life out loud with
Ah.
the solutions of troubleshooting my own shit, you know?
Hell
Like,
yeah.
I'm struggling with my weight. Here's what my husband and I do. And of course, it's based on, evidence and, for my background of health and fitness, I definitely know where to dive into the literature and, um, different things that are actually research backed versus just providing, um, a piece that might not necessarily be relevant or
Right.
um, I'd like to consider myself like that filter between the science jargon and then just putting it into practice.
Yeah, yeah, you have a unique um, set of skills where it's like the you got you got the certification and everything to back everything up, and you have the real life. You like you said, you practice it. You're practicing this shit, so
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I'm getting these results, and here's the data to
Right.
support
Right.
it as well. So it's like, all right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, just coming from the story of I've been there, I've
Mhm.
had a lot of health challenges. These are things that have worked and things that might work for you. And so here's an entire wellness blog. Find what works for you. Take it, own it. I'll keep it simple and realistic for you.
Yeah. When how old were you when you started like feeling or when you started experiencing some of these health challenges that you're talking about?
So I always struggled with a lot of anxiety in high school,
Okay.
and definitely have grown a lot through that. But I think some of that hyper stress state influenced this these hormones that I just still to this day can't quite get to agree with me. Um, so I do have osteoporosis that I got diagnosed with. I believe it was about 3 years ago now, but um, I never really felt sick per se with that. I had infertility, and throughout my relocations with the military, they were always focused on getting me pregnant, which I have no problem with because I did. That's what I wanted. But ultimately, what was the cause of that infertility
Right.
and those hormone imbalances? So
Yeah.
I actually was the one who was asking my doctors for the DEXA scan,
Okay.
just knowing that after I had kids, it just, something still wasn't right. So with these hormone panels that were coming back and a lot of lifestyle changes that I had made, like normally when you see a runner with hormone challenges, you look to have her gain weight, you look to have her stop running, you look to have her eat high fat or switch up like the nutrient ratio. Um, and so I did all of those things. And I even tried stopping and starting medication to help, and it just didn't. So as a result, knowing that bone health, I think my background in physiology really fed into this one, but
Mhm.
I presented a case to my provider and said, I think I need a DEXA scan.
Okay.
And when he handed me the results, he said, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that no one let you do this earlier. You've been asking for this for years. Wow. He's like, I've never seen this before. And so, I mean, it just goes to show, speak up when you feel that you have something wrong with your health. And
Yeah.
I mean, it probably took 5 different providers for someone to finally listen.
And that
So,
is something I've talked to multiple women who have um, run into issue after issue after issue with their doctors, dismissing the way that they're actually feeling.
mhm,
That's a it's a big issue, because it's
yeah.
like in each of these like scenarios, it's like there. I know people that have gone, yeah. Now I'm just adding somebody else's experience to like, holy shit, you go through month after month or years of crap that could be avoided with a test,
Yeah. And so I think functional medicine and working with functional medicine providers was a real big game changer for me
Yeah.
because they listen to family history, they take multiple hormone panels, they look at you as a whole person and
Mhm.
what's really going on. So that's been life changing for me to be able to work with functional medicine providers. And I blend, I have a primary care physician.
Mhm.
So sometimes they actually don't agree with one another and I'll try like both their approaches and
Yeah,
like,
you're
oh,
like,
I maximized my results.
yeah, you're like, hey,
uh,
I'll tell you which one of you guys are correct.
yeah. Yeah. But
Oh,
I say that I've hired and I've fired, many different providers and
mhm.
um it's a bold move. We're taught that doctors, you don't want to, you don't challenge. We don't stop to challenge or question. And I think that's one thing I do in
Mhm.
almost everything in life is like I question myself and my own mental models. So I'm definitely going to challenge other people.
Yeah. 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 And especially, I mean, like when you actually have something going on too, it's just you're like, I'm in my body. Like I know that something's off, like something's not feeling right here. So it's yeah. Yeah. With the what all gets measured in a DEXA scan?
So it's just your bone density.
Okay.
So it'll just say, um, it looks at your leg, I believe, your wrist, and your spine.
Okay.
So you can see over time if the bone is rebuilding itself. But, I did question too the medication they wanted to put me on, which, is designed for much older women, like in their 80s, who have osteoporosis. So here I was at 33. And so I was like, wait a minute. I started interviewing every pharmacist I knew to
Yeah.
see what the mechanism of action of the drug was.
Okay.
And once I really got into it, I realized that all it does is build the outer matrix of the bone or the outer covering of the bone, not the inner matrix. So it's actually building a really fragile bone. And long term, when you start to look at the evidence, you see it actually results in breaks. So
The Band-Aid.
yes. So I've been, doing lots of things like bone broth and the red light and ensuring that I do not have gaps in my nutrition, making sure micronutrients are, I'm testing well for, my body is digesting and assimilating the food. gut
Okay.
health, all of those things come into to play with this.
Yeah. Gotcha. What are some of your most more nutrient dense foods that you have on a pretty regular basis?
So I'm a veggie junkie. Like I definitely eat a giant salad every night for dinner. Um,
Nice.
it's just the topping that I jazz up. So sometimes it might look like more nacho focused if I have some chips with it or and some salsa and I did actually I was vegetarian for quite a while. My husband's vegetarian, but my body was not digesting amino acids properly. So I actually found that I could maximize absorbing amino acids if I did incorporate high quality meat back into my diet.
Okay.
So I do eat some like grass fed um, meats and organic meats.
Nice.
So it was one of those things that I wasn't necessarily loving, but I think the benefits to my health were were tangible from what I could see. So
Okay. Gotcha. Are you on
yeah.
the broccoli sprout kick?
So I do eat broccoli sprouts. Yes, yes, I do have those. Yeah. I love cabbage lately. I'm like
Cabbage, huh?
it's just filling. I was like cabbage and some coconut oil and a bunch of veggies, but
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, yeah, when it gets a little bit warmer, I do the salad thing on pretty much a daily basis. I like being able to just prep a bunch of them at once and then just boom, you have a
yeah.
salad a day for a little while. And the green smoothie thing is something I incorporate as well. And it's crazy. Well, it's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. But I feel, I feel different when I don't have the staple of veggies in my diet. Like if I
Mhm.
would go a couple days without the green smoothie or something like that, it's just like start feeling a little groggy, start feeling a little like, like what's going on? I'm like,
Yeah.
need some veggies.
Yeah. One thing that was really eye-opening for me is in the different functional medicine tests that they do.
Mm,
Um, I was eating a variety, an average, I counted an average of 27 different fruits and vegetables in a day.
yeah.
And my nutrition was like deplete, like all the different levels, like the different things that I was not digesting and assimilating was just very eye-opening for me. I was like, no wonder why I don't have the energy. So
Is that because of your gut health?
yeah, yeah, so once I got that cleared up, it was definitely very helpful, and
What'd you
now all
do
those
to start cleaning up or getting those gut bugs back?
so, I initially started with just some different supplements, I went gluten-free.
Okay.
That was actually, huge for me.
Yeah.
I think both from, like, the thyroid perspective as well as just gut health and overall energy.
Hmm.
Um, it I accidentally ate some gluten in doing forget what it's called. The diet where you elimination diet. So with the my physician gave me an elimination diet. So I went through that and I accidentally ate gluten. And I just remember like sitting there giving my son a bath and I was like, what in the heck happened? I'm like, my hands started swelling and I didn't realize that couscous had gluten. So here I just like downed 2 bowls of couscous with my dinner and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I
Damn.
do yeah, I do think it's one of those things once you eliminate it, you do become more sensitive, too. So,
Yeah.
um, but I do really feel that it benefits me and I don't miss, it's so easy to be, in my opinion, I guess because my husband and I are like health nuts and we find the healthy, options that still fit, but
Yeah.
or the alternatives that work so you can still have your favorite things.
Yeah.
I don't miss it. So,
Yeah.
besides beer, like a really good beer, which I splurge on every now and again.
Yeah, they're really good with the options that they have now of like guilty pleasures, but still not that bad. There's
Yeah, it's amazing.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about with the whole elimination thing because there was a time where I went gluten free for a while, and then when I would yeah, when I would allow it back in for like a pasta or like a big sandwich or something like that, I would get like the little itchy like chicken skin bumps on the
Hmm.
insides of my fingers. And I would get those in the past every once in a while, and I'm just like, I don't even know what this is. But now it's like I have it so infrequently that when I do have it, I I know that there's potential that's going to show up in a couple days.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's wild what can happen when you switch up things with your diet and you're like, I didn't know I was in such a fog
Yeah.
until I cut this out and then put something back in that I had had previously, and then you're just like, oh man, like what's happening to my day?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like getting my gut microbiome
Mm,
analyzed was really helpful. So I
okay,
was able to see if there were any like opportunistic infection type stuff. Anything was like really off balance. Like I don't think we really have a ideal blueprint of a gut. Like everyone's gut microbiome was different, but
yeah,
there were definitely some things that stood out on mine. So I was able to work with my provider with that one too. But
gotcha.
it's been a journey. I mean, that doesn't happen overnight. We're talking like
No.
4 years down the road, I'm finally like not bloated all the time.
But it's like slowly but surely when you find the little things that tweak it, you just get
Mhm.
better and better over time, you know, and it's just
Yeah.
it can be exciting at the same time, like hopeful. You're like, oh, okay, there is something to this. Okay.
Yeah. One thing I realized though in this journey of health and wellness is you just have to re-engineer constantly. Like
Yeah,
what worked for me 4 years ago in a different stage of life,
yeah,
like your body does adapt. You have to switch it up, the way that you're exercising, the way that you're eating. So getting results is always, it's just, you're not just going to be at one day like, oh, I have results and I can just relax. Like it is always a journey. It really is.
exactly. And yeah, that's oh my God, it's so true. It is so true because just when you think you have it figured out, it's just like, oh, well, I guess I didn't.
Yeah, like you have a protein shake that's giving you amazing results, and then, oh, wait, now I eat it so often that it's actually irritating my gut. So I need to switch up the brands, like, oh, it's one of the most annoying findings of my life there. I was like, I love that flavor. I loved that brand.
Yeah. You're like, I thought I found something that worked.
It did for a
Yeah,
while,
yeah,
couple of years.
sure. Well,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you wanted to get into on this one, or like in general, if people want to follow along with what you're doing or check out your book or
Yeah.
anything you got going on, like how can they follow along or reach out?
Definitely. So, my book, The Art of Breaking Through 5 Simple Steps to Take on Any Challenge and Tackle Self Doubt,
Okay.
it's available on Amazon.com. I did self publish there, so that's where I house it right now. But all benefits or all proceeds from the book benefit my father's ongoing COVID and cancer needs,
Mhm.
so his medical bills.
Okay.
Um, Definitely a way that, I wrote it in honor of his life. And so after writing it, getting handed so many different family challenges, it's just very fitting that that is the purpose of this book, to deliver this ripple effect of the impact my father had on me up to the world, and then at the same time give back to him. So um, the book means a lot on many different fronts to me. So I'm happy to have that out in the world and available. Um, and with that, it's one of the shortest self-help books you've ever read. So
Nice.
that was my goal there. There's a lot of, like I said, words out there, right? So it's like, what can you do with those words, and do they really make sense? And am I getting bored as I read this kind of thing? So it's quick, it's to the point, and really made to help the reader with any obstacle or personal goal that they are taking on.
Mm,
So I hope it's a useful tool for many.
mhm.
I will continue to provide content on my Team Valentine Project wellness blog.
Okay.
So that is across the spectrum of health, from a lot of mindset focus lately, but there's physical activity as well as healthy eating, and then a little bit about my journey fighting disease and reversing my own health diagnoses. So I do sprinkle that in there.
Yeah.
And then finally, I didn't talk about it too much, but I work for a company called Vheda Health. So it's VHEDA. And currently, we have a platform that's used nationwide to help Medicare and Medicaid and employer groups manage chronic disease.
Okay.
But I recently pitched to our CEO and president using the solution for everyday America. So the story behind that is we have these care packages with medical devices and use remote monitoring technology, um, providing real-time support for technology. So individuals who need to learn how to use the medical devices, or they just need help in using an application on their phone, which many people do, especially as we're older.
Yeah.
Um, and then also, anytime there's an out of range reading, there's a health navigator team that helps to respond and connect that person to care.
Oh, wow.
So
Is this
we
like something
delivered,
you wear that is like checking like vital signs and all that?
so it in the care package, it's a blood pressure cuff,
Uh-huh.
thermometer, devices like a pulse oximeter.
Uh-huh.
So it's really this comprehensive picture of health.
Okay.
And in my father's case, it was his pulse ox reading that let my sisters and I know that compared to how he was trending, it was really low. It was time. And then so for my father, who was very opposed to going in for care with his COVID, when we saw the reading, it's like, Dad, no, you know what this looks like when it's good. Because it's like a really simple green, yellow, or red indicator. So it's very user friendly, right? Like, this is really low and you need to go see someone. And he was immediately admitted.
Wow.
I mean, so that early intervention is
Mhm.
just seeing the impact it had on my life. I i just know there's so many people out there, especially military spouses and families who are remote from those that they love, who could use this system to care for their own friends and family. And so by my company providing our own care package to help save my family, and we do it for all of our company friends and family, like, we just never think of it, we just send these care packages for anyone in need.
Yeah.
So it's like, this solution we're using to care for those that mean the most to us, what if we delivered it nationwide?
Mm.
So that's where I'm like currently pulling some long hours and getting the solution out the door and available nationwide.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Really
So
excited for that.
so be on the lookout.
Yes, I think we're going to launch probably early May. So I'm very
Nice.
excited to have that solution available for those like myself who need it.
That's 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 pretty cool. Yeah, I have seen some stuff as of late about the whole like wearable tech and how it is helping people out because you can get some readings in real time that's like, oh, okay, like this isn't good, this is out of the range of normal, and
Mhm.
yeah, you can be more preventative than reactive, I guess, in the long run.
Exactly. It's upstream intervention. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily going to stop you from getting sick or from even having a life-changing event,
Yeah.
but it's that ability to share that information with doctors. They could scan and see vital signs over time and like, okay, he's doing well. Okay, so what happened here? What
Yeah.
happens at this time of day that just, it's always dipping kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and even, just to your point about most wearable tech, like even in my own pregnancy journeys, I
Mhm.
was high risk, but I was a runner.
Mm.
So I was able to, show my heart rate data to my physicians and
Okay.
get them to agree that my exercise wasn't strenuous. It was just baseline, as long as I didn't go at above certain levels.
Yeah.
And then what's really interesting is being so familiar with what was in range for myself
Mhm.
during my training sessions. Totally nerded out with this and the exercise physiologist perspective, but I could actually tell when I was in labor.
Wow.
Yeah. Or if I started to have contractions and I knew I needed to not exercise or I needed to just slow down,
Wow.
it was this really nice indicator for myself because I did have my son prematurely.
Okay.
So I was like not gonna push it. But
Right.
then my doctor gave me the okay with my second kid. And
Yeah.
so I went to the gym. I did a very strategic workout and I said, this baby's coming. And she did. She came. It was
Wow.
insane. So
Holy shit. Damn.
I know
That's
that's a whole nother rabbit hole. That's a whole nother
I know.
episode.
I was just like, there's another podcast just in and of itself. I was like, man, that is pretty interesting. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
man, the things that we might be able to do in the future. Like what's your pie in the sky view of wellness in the future?
Oh, ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I want more people to discover what works for them and not just buy into hype. There's like so much junk out there in terms of media spins on research, and it's hard to sift through it
Yeah.
all. And there's so many, that's why it took me 11 years to say wellness expert, or 15 probably, by the time I, for my first credential to finally say those words.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just finding what works for you, owning it, and recognizing it's a process to discover. But when you get there, it's okay. Like it doesn't have to look like the person down the road, you know? You don't need to do keto because everyone's doing keto. If it
Exactly.
doesn't agree with your body, ooh, don't do it.
Right, right, right. Exactly. If people are working out a certain way and you dread doing that every single day, find something
Yeah.
different that you can do.
Yeah. And taking it back to keeping it simple, realistic for yourself. It doesn't have to be technology. Like I know I talked about the biohacks, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's as simple as just going for a darn walk.
So true. Or just taking some time out to close your eyes and take some big, deep breaths.
Breathing, I know. Oh my
Like,
gosh.
it's wild how much we're so tense all day, every day. I mean, if you're listening to this right now, unclench your jaw and relax your shoulders.
Yeah. Good
You know,
reminder.
because this is like one of those things where I see throughout my day how often I'm tensed up. Because when I go to relax, I'm like, oh, my shoulders do relax. Oh, my jaw relax. I'm like, good Lord. Like so many of us are in a constant state of like fight or flight or freeze or just
Yeah.
because there's so much stimulus going on, I think we forget to breathe. Every once in a while, it's like, damn, something so simple can be that we have access to every single day.
Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed is, um, I mean, even again, the exercise physiologist coming in, but those, the different tests that I've done to measure my ability to breathe.
Mm,
Like people, the techs who are running the test are like, they're like yelling at me. They're like, come on, you're not, this is terrible. I'm actually stopping the test. This is so bad. Like this can't be possible. You're just not trying. And I'm like, no, I am. Like, I really am trying. And like, I've been at, a health fair and I'll do the spirometer test. And the little old lady next to me has better breathing than myself. And so I was like, what is this? And honest to God, I think it was just stress. Because now that I've been doing that new calm, the first thing I noticed was I took the deepest breath of my life the
yeah.
first time I used it. And ever since then, it's like this incredible space to just take these deep breaths that I haven't felt in years.
Yeah.
So if that's the only thing I get from that device, like
You're like, hey, it's something that
it's
works.
amazing. But
Yeah.
I also think too, it goes with, just releasing some emotions too. Like
Yeah.
you got to let them out. You got to feel those feels
Yeah.
sometimes in order to breathe a little fuller.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I think with that, that's probably a good place to start wrapping this one up then. But
Mm,
yeah, yeah. Breathe more, breathe deep,
absolutely.
relax. Yeah. Well, thank you very much again for taking the time out to do this today. Didn't really know where this one was going to go, but I'm glad we got into some of the things that we got into. So, yeah, appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for this forum to just share and talk about some of the real stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a beautiful thing. Just
It
some good
is
conversation.
awesome. Well, I
Mm.
hope you enjoyed it, people. We are getting out of here. See ya.